Hey Geometry, welcome to our chapter on circles. This says 9-1, but this year we're doing it as 10-1. So by the end of this section, you should be able to identify and use the basic properties of circles and can find the circumference of a circle. So first, what is a circle? A circle is the locus of points. So this is kind of a weird term, but it's all of the points in a plane that are a fixed distance from a point called the center. So it's not really a line, right? It's a fancy term. Don't worry too much about that. A circle is named by the symbol with the little circle with the dot in it and its center. So some properties of circle. So if we name this circle, this would be circle F, would be the name of that circle. The radius, a segment whose endpoints are the center and a point on the circle. So for example, in this case, segment BF would be a radius. You could also say segment FC or FD, those would be radii. A chord, a segment with endpoints on the circle. So for instance, AE or BD would work. Segment AE is a chord. And a diameter, a segment whose endpoints are both on the circle and it has to go through the center of the circle as well. And so that would be like BD, would be a diameter in this case. So congruent circles, have congruent radii. And that's all it takes to make them congruent. So that's congruent circles. If we have the same radius or the same diameter, you could also check. And you have congruent circles. Concentric circles, so circles that lie in the same plane with the same center. They have to be coplanar as well. So circles that lie in the same plane with the same center. And similar circles. So what's kind of crazy here is that all circles are similar. So they're all just, you could dilate any circle to be any other circle. So all circles are similar. And you can do this basically just via dilation, making them bigger and smaller. All right, so the circumference of a circle, you can do 2 pi r is the circumference, and you can also do just pi times the diameter, which is the 2r. 2r is the diameter, so pi times the diameter. So find the circumference of circle K in terms of pi. So here we're leaving things in terms of pi, leaving it as an exact solution. And so this would just be, you could figure out the radius is 3 and 3. If the diameter is 6, you could also just do pi d. So it's 2 times 3 times pi, or just pi times 6. You end up getting pi times 6 or 6 pi. A lot of times we write it that way. And you can type that into your calculator and figure out what it is in terms of decimals, but that is the most exact answer. So pi d, I guess I'll write out there, 2 times pi times 3 will give you that same result. So in this case, find the circumference of this circle. We got to do a little work to get there. We've got the 3 on this square that is inside that circle. And so this is a 45, 45, 90. We'll get into, so we got a square in there. But yeah, so that's 90 degrees, 45, 45, 90. So this will actually be the 3 square root of 2 length for that diameter. And so if we want to get the exact answer, we would just write it as pi times the diameter, or 2 times pi times the radius, which would be half that. So this one's a lot easier, just to do pi times the diameter, 3 square root of 2. That's kind of a weird way to write it. We might write it preferably this way. We don't usually write the pi first. We usually write the coefficient first. I guess they're all constants. They're all numbers. But you might write it that way. We tend to write the radical last, so we don't get confused whether or not the pi is underneath the radical. All right, and then the last one, the circumference of the circle is 8 kilometers. Find the radius and the diameter. So we can set up our formula, basically circumference, 8 is equal to 2 pi r, and solve that. Or we can to, you know, pi d and go straight to diameter. Once we know radius, we can double to diameter and so on. So we could go ahead and divide both sides. We could divide both sides by 2 pi at the same time if we wanted. And so this would become 4 over pi is the radius, which in order to do that, I've got my calculator here, 4 divided by pi, we get 1.27 for the radius. So the radius is 1.27-ish approximately. And then the diameter would be double that, times 2. So the diameter 2.54. So I guess that rounds up to 5.5. And those are in kilometers. Kilometers, km. So note that using pi on your calculator is your is the best possible number. Wait until the end to round your calculation. So leave it in terms of pi. Then if you're going to go round it, don't just use like 3.14 because that'll often throw you off by quite a bit.